along with emerging stars Bam Adebayo, everybody got familiar, and of course Tyler Herro. Stephen A., can you explain this to me? Why does it seem like everybody's ignoring the Heat, though, when we're talking about this upcoming season in the East?
I think because, number one, a lot of people looked at what transpired last year as an aberration. They snuck up on some folks, the bubble kind of atmosphere. They were more disciplined, ready to go, and people viewed it that way. I think that also with the arrival of Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, that's going to steal the attention of a lot of folks. Of course, the Greek Freak is going to get his attention because he just signed for $228 million, an average of $45.6 million a year. And then you look at Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, both in Philadelphia, with them adding a Seth Curry and some shooters to their squad. So now we're looking and waiting to see, even though we're not sure that they're going to be the team. Clearly, they've tweaked things and they're moving in a forward direction. When you consider that Elton Brand is still there, Doc Rivers has arrived, and Daryl Morey is your president of basketball operations. The combination of that with the Greek Freak signing, with the Brooklyn Nets getting a healthy Kevin Durant into the equation to go along with a healthy Kyrie returning from the shoulder surgery, the Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie's of the world being there. Those three teams have stolen so many headlines. And the one headline that we've had from Miami, other than signing Bam Adebayo to his extension, is the fact that they're not going to get the Greek Freak because it's rather than approach free agency with an open mind, he closed the door on all of that by re-upping with Milwaukee. Those things have Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia in the mind's eye, and that is why everybody has been ignoring the Miami Heat.
I think I agree with some of that, but I think you can sum it up much more simply. It comes down to this. Fans know, because everyone who's experienced the NBA over a number of years they know it in their gut, that unless you have an MVP caliber player on your roster, you're probably not going to win the championship. And when you look at the Heat, you don't see an MVP. Jimmy Butler's great. He's a perennial all-star. He's just the kind of guy you want on your team. He's not an MVP. Not in a league with LeBron James and the Freak and AD and KD and those kind of. That's why you identified those guys. The Freak's in Miami and KD is in Brooklyn. You're mentioning MVP five-star players. So we're not used to seeing teams like the Heat with just multiple all-stars. That's one reason. There's no MVP. But number two is because you sleep on the roster. People just sleep on this roster. Think of how many guys can go get their shot under pressure at an above average level, right? You don't even think about Dragic. Dragic does work in the playoffs. These are playoff tested guys who can go get a shot, right? Go get you a bucket when you need it. Jimmy Butler, obviously. But here's another. Tyler Herro. Because you don't think, when you think of the Heat roster, you think Jimmy Butler and Bam, and obviously Duncan Robinson can bomb, and Jay Crowder's a Swiss Army knife player who can also shoot, and Kendrick Nunn, you like all these players, and you throw Tyler Herro in that mix. Not stopping to think, this dude can go get you 35 in a conference finals. He's that kind of player, and he's only 20. He's not built like a defender. He's not like a long guy who's ever going to be like, oh my God, a shutdown defender. But offensively, Tyler Herro may be just scratching the surface. Guys 20 years old playing like that in the playoffs. So now you look at the roster and go, no, they don't have an MVP, but damn, they got your all-star leader in Jimmy Butler, another all-star caliber player in Bam. Dragic can go get his shot in crunch time and is really a plus player. Tyler Herro is a rising star, and then you got all of this other stuff around them. Well, that's why there's no MVP. And people are basically sleeping on the roster.
Well, listen, Crowder's gone. He's in Phoenix now. Secondly, when you look at the Miami Heat.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. That's right.
Goran Dragic is coming back. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's all right. It's okay. It happens. So the point is that you got that going on. And listen, I like what I see from them in terms of the young player, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro. They're the future. They can really shoot. Tyler Herro really showed himself. Butler's still there. Bam Adebayo is there. But when you look at Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, the Miami Heat, as constructed, isn't supposed to be able to beat at least two of those teams. Not if you bring your A game, and I think that's how a lot of people do it. Like you said, you can say it more succinctly in terms of having that star, but those other teams have stolen headlines. But think about it. With Philly, you got Doc Rivers coaching Simmons and Embiid. In Brooklyn, you got KD and Kyrie. In Milwaukee, you still have the Greek Freak. And so when you look at it from that perspective, along with the fact that if you're coming out of the East, no one's really expecting you to beat the Lakers anyway. All of that would contribute to the Heat being ignored. But they're still a playoff team. They're still the reigning Eastern Conference champions. And by the way, I think because of perimeter shooting, which they can deliver, they're going to have a lot to say about what transpires in the East when all is said and done. They'll get to the conference semifinals, and we'll see how they look from there.
You know, they got
the Bucks and
multiple
Nets.
all-star caliber players. Sorry, Miley. No, I'm just saying they got, I think a lot of it comes down to how you perceive Tyler Herro. Like, Duncan Robinson can shoot the lights out. But if you think of Tyler Herro more like an all-star than just some kid who's coming up, and he plays like an all-star in the playoffs, all of a sudden you're like, Bam, Butler, Tyler Herro. You got 3 all-star caliber players plus all the other dudes. I don't know. They're a whole lot of. And then there's the Heat culture with Pat Riley and Spoelstra. That's a whole lot of.
Yeah, but according to Vegas, they're still betting on the Bucks and Nets ahead of the Heat, even though they're the defending champs there in the East. All right, guys, when we come back, Big Perks joining us, and we finish up our NBA season.
First time being out there, I think I felt pretty good.
So, Jay, here we go. The regular season begins on Tuesday. The Rockets' first game is Wednesday. The preseason ends Saturday, so there is no travel. There'll be business that can be done Sunday, Monday. When do you think this ends between Harden and the Rockets?
It ends when Rafael Stone and the Houston Rockets find the right trade package for James Harden. I like the way James Harden answered the question, right? You don't come out and say, I'm demanding a trade right now. You let your agent say that to the front office. He'll speak on your behalf. I feel like what you did miss, Zubin, though, and what we did miss is the best part about it. The reporter was saying, so James, why weren't you here at the start of training camp? And he's like, well, I was working with my own individual trainers. And he's like, well, in Atlanta and in Vegas? He's like, yes, I work with my trainers in Atlanta and Vegas. Yes, that's where they reside, and that's where I work out with them. Look, this is what's going to be with James. You're not going to get anything from James himself. He's a baller. He's going to hoop when he's on the court. But make no doubt about it, I give him maybe a month with the Houston Rockets organization. Eventually, they're going to find the right trade package in order for James Harden to be somewhere else other than Houston. I don't know where that's at. Maybe Philly has the best chance to get it done right now, but he will not remain a Houston Rocket throughout this entire year.
And Key, simply put, tongue planted firmly in cheek. You know, I love saying that. Fatter, Giannis's bank account or James Harden?
I didn't even hear I couldn't hear what you said.
No worries. We'll wait. We'll work on it. James Harden and the Houston Rockets again. Preseason game tonight against the Spurs. And then they got the Thunder in their regular season opener on Wednesday, which of course seems apropos because those are the 2 uniforms he's worn in his career, with certainly a third on the way. Still to come, college football's top analysts
Obviously played last night. We all saw it. His Rockets winning a preseason game against an in-state foe, the Spurs. Harden did not talk to the media after the game. He still wants to be traded. Now, in an article, listen to this, filed to ESPN this morning, written by Tim McMahon, the Rockets organization appears to have created a culture that gave James Harden all the power. One former Rockets staffer said he's never heard no before. Yeah, he's going to act up. A former Rockets assistant coach said, we knew who the boss of the organization was. That's just part of what the deal was when you go to Houston. The players, the coaches, GM, owner, all know. I don't blame James. I blame the organization. It's not his fault. He did what they allowed him to do. All right, Stephen A. There's a whole lot to unpack there. I know you still moonlight with a little reporting, so talk to me here. Did the Rockets give him too much power?
I don't think so. Listen. When you're the star, when you're the franchise, when you're the box office attraction and you play like a superstar, you deserve to have cachet. You deserve to have clout. The question is how you exercise it. See, the issue in question shouldn't be, did James Harden have too much power? The question should be, did he utilize it and exercise it appropriately? And if you've got people waiting for team planes, if you've got people waiting to start the film session and what have you, if it is true that Russell Westbrook was like, damn it, start the film, start without him, and that lent itself towards Russell Westbrook being the professional that he is, not liking tardiness and what have you, if that's something that turned him off, then that's something that needs to be addressed. I think the biggest thing is this. If James Harden had something to do with Kevin McHale, Houston ultimately moving on from Kevin McHale, which he did. If he had something to do with them moving on from Dwight Howard, which he did. If he had something to do with them moving on from CP3, when CP3 wanted him to not stand around